Welcome to Documented Strange, where the stories aren't just mysterious, they're verified, undeniable, and horrifying. This one, it might be the most disturbing of them all. It begins with a body in a casket and ends with indoor rain, levitation, and a man possessed by something no one could explain. This is the real story of Don Decker. And if you've never heard it, prepare to never forget it. February 1983, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Don Decker was 21 years old. He was in jail for a non-violent crime. A quiet, troubled kid. No history of violence. No signs of psychosis. But beneath that silence was something waiting to break through. He was granted a 3-day furlough to attend his grandfather's funeral. What no one knew was that Don hated the man. Not mildly, deeply. He claimed his grandfather had abused him for years, and when he died, Don didn't grieve. He felt relief. And that night, something dark came with it. He was staying at a friend's house, sitting in a recliner after dinner. The TV was on. The mood was quiet. But the air shifted. The temperature dropped. Not slightly, violently. Everyone in the room felt it, like a freezer door opening all at once. Don's body started trembling. His face went pale. His eyes locked onto nothing. And then he collapsed into a trance. That's when the smell hit. Sour, putrid, like rotting meat. Everyone noticed it. It filled the room. It clung to their skin. And moments later, the first drop of water hit the floor. Then another. Then 10. Then a downpour. Rain began falling. Inside the house, from the ceiling, from the walls, from the floorboards, the homeowners screamed. They thought a pipe had burst, until they noticed the water wasn't following gravity. Some of it was dripping upward. They called the landlord. He rushed over, walked into the living room and froze. Water was falling everywhere. No burst pipes, no water lines in the ceiling, just thick, slow rain pouring from places it shouldn't exist. He checked the upstairs unit. Dry. The attic? Dry. But downstairs, it was like a storm cloud had formed indoors. He called the police. Officers Richard Woolbert and John Bojan responded. The moment they stepped inside, they were hit by a wall of cold air and dripping silence. They looked up and saw water falling from a dry ceiling. They touched the walls, dry, but the water wouldn't stop. They glanced at Don, who was sitting motionless in the chair, eyes dull, water sliding off his hands, face blank. One officer backed away. The other filed a report, but neither could explain what they had just seen. One of them refused to ever return to the house. He told his chief, quote, "That kid is possessed, and I'm not going near him again." The others, now panicked, moved Don to a nearby restaurant owned by a family friend. They thought maybe it was the house, maybe something in the foundation, the structure, the plumbing. But the moment Don walked through the restaurant doors, it began again. Rain fell across the tables, onto customers, onto food. The lights dimmed. The air dropped 30 degrees in minutes. And in the middle of the chaos, Don began to float. Witnesses said his feet left the floor, that he rose, motionless, eyes rolled back. A woman screamed. Someone ran out the door. The restaurant owner called the police. Another officer arrived, a skeptic, but even he couldn't deny what he saw. He watched water form in midair, drip straight down from a completely dry ceiling. He stepped closer to Don, and something shoved him back. He described it like hitting a solid wall of force. No one was near him. Nothing was visible. But something was absolutely there. At this point, law enforcement filed a formal report stating, "Unexplainable phenomena, suspected possession." Don was returned to the jail, but the haunting followed him behind bars. Guards reported water forming around his feet, dripping from his cell walls. They stripped the room bare. No water source, no toilet, no sink. They shut off the plumbing to the block entirely. Still, it rained. The prison chaplain was called. He agreed to perform an emergency exorcism. Don thrashed, screamed, spoke in voices that weren't his. Guards stood outside the cell, frozen. One said he saw claw marks appear on Don's arm, out of nowhere. The chaplain continued the rite, and suddenly Don collapsed. The rain stopped, permanently. Don never experienced it again. This is not folklore. It's not internet fiction. This is a real, fully documented case. witnessed by police officers, prison guards, civilians, and restaurant staff. All gave sworn statements. All confirmed what they saw. And none of them ever changed their story. So what happened to Don Decker? Was he mentally ill? Was it trauma? Or did his grief open a door? A door to something old, something dark, something that rides in on silence and leaves behind the sound of falling rain. Subscribe to Documented Strange for more verified true cases that prove the world is far stranger and far scarier than we were ever taught to believe. Some storms don't come from the sky. Sometimes they come from within.